My name is Alexander Pankiev. I'm an associate professor and co-chair of Ukrainian culture and ethnography at the Department of Modern Languages and Cultural Studies, Faculty of Arts, and the director of Folklore Center at the University of Alberta. Both the Folklore Center and the University of Alberta are located on Treaty 6 territory, the land of many indigenous peoples and the homeland of Métis Nation. We respect the sovereignty, lands, histories, languages, knowledge systems, and cultures of all of those nations. The Folklore Center is a leading research institution dedicated to the study of Ukrainian folklore, culture, traditions, and the everyday manifestations of identities. The Folklore Center is actively supports interdisciplinary scholarship, fostering collaboration between faculty, graduate students, and community partners interested in exploring the Ukrainian cultural heritage in Canada and beyond. A central feature of the center is extensive archival collections, which constitute one of the most comprehensive repositories of Ukrainian Canadian folklore in North America. In addition to its archival and research functions, the Folklore Center is highly active in organizing scholarly and community events, including international conferences, academic roundtables, symposia, exhibits, and public lectures. And today we have one of our cool lecture series presentations, and the guest speaker is Daria Antsybor, who will present us with the lecture titled Ukrainian Winter Celebrations, Who Brings Presents to Ukrainian Children. Daria Antsybor is a research fellow at the State Scientific Center for Protection of Cultural Heritage Against Man-Made Disasters in Kyiv, Ukraine. She studied folklore at the Institute of Philology of Kyiv National University of Taras Shevchenko. Her dissertation was dedicated to the genres of oniric folklore. She specializes in wartime folklore, vernacular medicine, crisis humor, and anthropology of dreams. She is a member of International Society of Ethnology and Folklore. She created a Telegram channel, Mushrooms, Coffins, and Dissertations, promoting knowledge about traditional and modern cultural practices. She is co-author of anthropological podcast, Porobleno. She wrote 2 non-fiction books. The titles of those books, Under the Pillow or Under the Tree, Anthropological Research of Holidays, and Dreadlocks, Battles and Steals, 2 Centuries of Subcultures in Ukraine. Currently, she is examining the nature of crisis humor in Ukraine, vernacular healing practices in the Polisia region, and she is writing a new nonfiction book about Halloween and its connection to Ukrainian culture. Before we start, this is an announcement for our Zoom audience. You can ask questions using the Q&A window, which is located at the bottom of the Zoom screen. We'll do our best to read as many of our questions as possible, and our apologies in advance if we are not able to get to all of them. And I'm giving the floor to Daria. Daria.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, I'm currently in Kyiv, and currently we have the situation that there is no electricity. So I hope it's okay that maybe you don't see me very well, but I hope you hear me well enough. And I'm really grateful for all the team of Cool Folklore Center that they have invited me, and I hope that we'll have a really interesting, for me, it's evening, for you, it's morning. So, and okay, so yeah, thanks. I've already got the first impression. Thanks. So guys, I am starting to share the screen. And here, I hope you see everything. And we are, and also, let's start. Yeah, okay. So the idea of our lecture today is basically to understand at the end who brings present to Ukrainian children, why everything is so complicated, why we still have this discussion, and how war has influenced to this question, and how a lot of families have started switching to alternatives instead of Did Moroz, Grandfather Frost, Father Frost. to some other creatures, and we will try to cover up what's going on now and how I believe it will look like in a few more years. We are going to talk also a little bit about children and their gifts in the traditional Ukrainian culture, because it wasn't like that for just, let's say, 2 centuries or a century and a half ago. The role of a Christmas tree in Ukrainian tradition as well, how it evolved. Then we're going to cover up the topic of Mykolai, Saint Nicholas, yeah, in Ukrainian culture, how did Moroz, grandfather Frost, appeared, and we'll see the great battle between these two gift givers, and we'll try to understand who can be next. So before we start, let's have a look on maybe just this traditional childhood, how it used to be, yeah, in the Ukrainian traditional Ukrainian culture. So actually, it was not so much about gifts as it is right now, because right now everything is very kind of children oriented, and we believe that the holidays, these Christmas holidays, New Year's, and so on, it's these holidays, Saint Nicholas Day, are very much connected to the idea that we have to take care about children and really think through the gifts that we are going to present to them, but in a very creative way. So typical gifts to treat a child were usually either seasonal treats, like seasonal fruits, for example, I don't know, apples or plums, something like this. They could be candies, like this, a very, very popular candy that you used to buy in the market. Perhaps honey bread as well. That was very easy to make and also very popular to make in a special forms, you know, to make it, to buy them also in the markets. Also, some kind of pastries, which you would do at home, you would bake at home. A very, very interesting thing could be tiny pottery, which is called monetka. So exactly, the translation is a coin, which meant that, for example, you went on the market, you would like to buy something from the potter. I don't know, you would buy some pottery and you would give him some money, and the potter would give you instead of exchange, you know, some coins that he would bring. He would give you this very, very small. This is the actual size of this kind of monetkas, tiny pottery. He could give you this very small pieces of pottery, and you would bring it to your kids, so they would play with this tiny pottery as the real, I don't know, like with the dolls, and for example, with this tiny pieces. Then, of course, there would be some kind of clay whistles again. So I would have some, I can show you something like this. Yeah, like a very traditional things to buy on the markets as well. So you would have treats for kids, but they would be really occasional. So people didn't really used to celebrate birthdays or, you know, any special occasions for kids. If we talk about this, you know, rural Ukraine, they used to give some treats because there was an occasion to buy something. It's something very symbolic, but it's not like there was a special holiday. So they would think that, okay, I need to prepare, I need to take care about the presents for my kid. So if we talk about this traditional Christmas time and the present that kids would receive, usually either there would be some kind of gingerbread. For example, the gingerbread from Poltava region is called panyankas for girls, and pizza panyanka, panyankas for girls, and horses for koni, yeah, for boys. And this actually, it's interesting to see how these shapes are starting, molds, yeah, are starting to be more and more popular in Ukraine. And now you can even buy these traditional molds in some of these local supermarkets, and you could see the recipe on the other side. And so we have now a very interesting popularization of kind of rebringing of this tradition back. And it used to be very local in Poltava and Kharkiv oblasts, and now you could see that it's spreading around the country. And again, if you look at the traditional ethnographic sources, you would see that it was very typical when kids, the carolers, would come from one place to another. They would receive this kind of gingerbread as a present after they sang the carol. Also collage. Collage is a very typical traditional bread that you would also bake, especially for Christmas. And you're gonna have the exchange of collages around the village. So you would normally, typically, what how it looks like, there is the child would go to see the godfather or godmother, and he or she, they would go with kind of like froshiki, towel, and there would be collage, there would be kutya, this traditional Ukrainian porridge that we make for Christmas. There would be some other interesting treats there, and they would start exchanging. So I would bring collage to my godfather, he would give me his collage, and we start, exchange. So it's not, again, the typical gift itself, it's just the way how you exchange in a very traditional way. And then rarely you would, of course, have some presents that were more like not handmade usually, but they were maybe for wealthy people, or for, I don't know, people who could think through and yeah, have a better preparation. So that would be shawl, for example, shawl for girls, and let's say some I don't know, let's say can be had for boys or something like this, but it's a very seldom thing. You wouldn't see it very often. It's just something that, again, it would be more occasional, not for the holiday. So what started later on, when we talk about the middle of 19th century, we have this great shift when the kids started to receive gifts for winter holidays, precisely, and it started to be the tradition that firstly appeared in the cities or in these wealthy families, and then later on it would start coming through to these people in the villages. So at the beginning, you couldn't really see this tradition in just in these rural areas. So when we talk about the way how this present, the idea of presence appeared in Ukraine, you start thinking first of all about the Christmas tree, because actually the Christmas tree itself, at the beginning, when it came to Ukraine, it was already understood that it was a German tradition and so on. I'll cover it through a little bit later. But the tree itself was a present. So when we start uncovering all this story, we would see that firstly, there was the Christmas tree that appeared and the tradition to put up a Christmas tree. And then later on, there was the question rising, who brought this tree? And then the gift giver appeared. So when we talk about the Christmas tree, the fir tree, or a spruce tree, then what you would see that in traditional culture there was a very interesting peculiar attitude towards these kind of trees. So evergreenery was perceived as divine confirmation that nature could come back to life after this long winter death. And this sharp, that was one thing. Yeah, so thinking about the resurrection. And another thing that we have to keep in mind is that the sharp cutting objects, especially like metal ones, but not only them, they usually protect against evil, evil spirits. So this is something that can protect you against this bad eye and so on. So when we talk about the traditional usage of even now of the Christmas tree, you would see that people even still can have these pieces of these branches of Christmas tree that, for example, was put in the church, or that was put for the Epiphany, and they would use then these small pieces to basically they would hang it under the icon or somewhere else in their houses, and they would use it as a protection against the evil spirits, or if they believe in bad eye and so on. So these fir tree needles kind of they have this second kind of protection. And if we talk about the trees in traditional culture, you would see that this is not only about the resurrection, the idea that they're always green, but also that they have these needles that can be protective. So if we talk about the custom of putting up the Christmas tree, then we of course know that it came from German peoples, but the first idea was that they used to they used to organize the place on the markets or in the streets next squares next to the churches, and this place showed the life of Adam and Eve in Edom, and the place is called usually Judadam. And the spruce, actually, at the beginning, basically was used as an apple tree, or this local tree that the local people used to believe that it was a tree of knowledge. So because in winter there was no other trees that would be green, so at the beginning people used to put up these trees as a decoration for this place where they showed the life in Eden. Then later on, this tradition started to spread from Germany to other countries, and the custom gradually spread throughout Europe and eventually got to Ukraine as well. We know that in 1811, that was the first Christmas tree that was put in Odessa, and probably we believe that it was the first Christmas tree that was put in the Russian Empire. So it was quite early, actually, because there is a very there's still a myth that kind of we didn't used to have Christmas tree before Postyshev and Stalin and all this idea in 1930s. But as you could see here, it was actually Ukraine that even was perhaps the first in Russian Empire that started to put up these trees. So it is likely, we already know it, that it is likely that in the 30s and 40s, in 1830s, 40s, the Christmas trees were already kind of, it was not like already a serious tradition for everyone in the cities, but again, it was for people who were rich. It was already the thing, because the shops obviously had already worked through the idea that they had to prepare. They even had the idea that they could make the whole tree for you already covered with all these candies and with all these gingerbreads and so on. So you can just buy the whole tree and ask for the local delivery service, and they would just bring it to you, so to the door. So it was already in the 30s. So there were the first records of selling gifts in the trees, especially for Christmas and New Year's. It was especially for Christmas. It was in Odessa, in Kiev, in Kharkiv, and so in big cities. It was a thing. People learned about it from German immigrants, the colonists usually, who settled in Ukrainian cities, and of course from the circles of aristocracy, businesses, intellectuals who had the knowledge already basically communicated, extensively with other European nations, and who could read, who could afford the books about these Christmas stories, the illustrated books, where they, of course, could also see the trees, and that's how the idea that I can make it for my kid as well appeared. So at first, the tradition of putting up a Christmas tree was only for one night, and because everything that was on the tree, it was considered as a gift for the kids, and because Usually it was something that you could eat, and it was something tasty and sweet that trees couldn't survive longer than one night. So over the time, the question arose as who actually brought this tree with all these gifts. And that's how the magical gift giver appeared. Yeah, so that's why when you see the first postcards, you could see that there is the Saint Nicholas or I don't know, Father Frost or some Christmas, Father Christmas and so on. They always have this Christmas tree with in one hand, or they can have an axe. So which means that they go in to cut the tree in the forest and they would bring it to you. So they used to have it in their hands because they would. It was thought that they would bring it would have brought it. Okay, so when we talk about, for example, Russian Empire, then it was a very long list of candidates, and it started with, for example, old Ruprecht, Saint Nicholas, Grandfather Nicholas. It didn't really work out in the Russian Empire because of this very very deep understanding or not understand. There was a very peculiar yeah, understanding of this saint, and there was a very interesting traditional beliefs about the saint in Russian Empire, and that's why it didn't work out because Saint Nicholas for Russians, he wasn't a traditional gift giver at all, and it didn't work. It just didn't work that St. Nicholas can bring something. So because his attitude is different in the traditional culture. So then there were even mentions of Santa Claus, old man, starik, stary, something like this. Morozko, different variations of the word moroz, frost. Yeah, so usually it was an elaboration from this folklore image of Moroz красный нос, frost red nose, and also there were even tries to call it Yolkich. Yolkich comes from the word Yolka, which means Christmas tree, the fir tree, because Yolkich because he actually had to bring the Christmas tree, yeah, as did the the grandfather Christmas. Christmas grandfather Christmas, what was also another idea, but it didn't really work out. Santa Claus was from among intellectual circles who had the opportunity to read English books. And then also there was even options like grandfather, detka like deed, grandfather. So it's a traditional character from a local folklore. Yeah, for Christmas holidays, the ancestors who would come, who would visit you during the Christmas tide. And then in the end, it was Grandfather Frost or Grandpa Frost that actually survived. So this is what we had for basically mostly for Russian Empire, and the biggest part of Ukraine, bigger part was under the Russian Empire. But also there was another part of Ukraine that was under the Austro-Hungarian Empire and Poland, and they had different story because that's where actually Saint Nicholas worked through. And if we talk about Mykolai, Saint Nicholas, as a traditional Ukrainian saint, and if we see what kind of beliefs people had in rural Ukraine, you can see that it's quite okay. It's not about gift giving as well. It has a very long-lasting tradition and very complex. So, what if we have to dig through? It can be another topic completely, but what we have here is that if we read the folk legends, you can see that this is basically like a folk superhero. It's like a Superman that sometimes you can even see the phrases like he can replace God when God dies. So it's something that very, very difficult to comprehend, but people always thought of him as the saint that is somewhere nearby, and always comes to help, and that he is very protective, but on the other hand, he's very wise, and and he's about justice. That there is another thing, that how this justice works, because there are legends, for example, where there is a very interesting belief that he tells animals which other animal to kill. So, for example, he would tell the fox that you need to go to, let's say, Orissa's house and to catch the hen there. Or you would have to go, for example, for the bear, you would have to go to see, I don't know, Ivan, and to bring something from his place. So he actually he addresses. I know it's really like a delivery. So he says that that animal should go there exactly and does that and that. And then in that legend, the legend is very popular. And the legend says that one man once, it was at night, he got lost. He saw Saint Nicholas standing in front of other animals and saying to the wolf, there was this kind of discussion, and he said to the wolf that you have to go to that man's house and to eat his horse. So the man, when he heard about it, he came back home immediately, and the horse was, I think, white or something like this, and he started kind of, taking. He took some mud and basically covered horse's face and the horse's legs with this mud. So when the wolf came, he couldn't understand that was that particular horse, so he couldn't find it. So the next day, the following day, the man would come again to the same place, and he heard how this animal started to explain to St. Nicholas what they did. That I add that hen, I add that, I don't know, something. And then when the wolf came, the wolf storm came, he said that he couldn't find that horse. And then St. Nicholas says, okay, so then you have to find that man and you have to eat him. So for us, it's extremely strange right now from our perspective that we know that St. Nicholas is like, yeah, it's like a gift giver. It's all about children and, I don't know, happiness and joy. And now you see the legend that was extremely popular, extremely popular. And the legend says that basically he says he led the wolf kill that man. And actually, at the end of the legend, it happened. So the whole legend was that the man was very cautious. He didn't leave the house. He would stay, with the closed doors all the time. He wouldn't go in the forest anymore. And then there was this his son's wedding in another village, and he said that he asked another man, other sons to put him in the chest and never open the chest while they are on the way. But of course, while they were on the way to that village, the woman appeared, and the woman started yelling that there were some other wolves running towards her. They wanted to kill her. And so these sons opened the chest and said, come here, we have already another guy like that. You could be together there. And then when they came to the wedding and they opened the chest, there was a wolf coming out, and they were just both left. And so this legend, it's very strange from our perspective to understand it right now. But the idea is that it's about justice, and if the god says something, it should be that way. So it's about fatalism in a way as well. And if you want to change your destiny, it doesn't work that way. You will the justice here is that if you were okay with that decision to sacrifice your horse, you would be alive. But you were not okay. You wanted to change it, and that's how you ended up being dead yourself. This is something kind of, unusual to understand maybe for us, but this is how it worked. So Mykolai was not only just this very nice a saint that always helped people when they are in trouble, but it's also when that he it was a very specific understanding of justice, and he gave it to people, but people were uh, still very grateful for it. That's something that maybe just leave it for your later on to dig deeper. So the cult of Saint Nicholas developed in a very interesting way. That if we start digging into it, we see that obviously there should be some local pre-Christian beliefs. And somehow, if we start uncover it, maybe we can see that he took the duties of local pagan deities and adapting these cults to these new Christian realities, yeah, and acquiring new elements. So if we talk about Saint Nicholas and how he behaves, what he does, we see that there is possible replacement of the cult, that maybe there was the god of cattle. Perhaps we are talking about Volos Veles, because he was associated with cattle. He loved horses. When we talk about St. Nicholas Day, there was a very common tradition to ride horses during this day. Also, there was a tradition to look at the weather, because usually there was a very strong belief that the real winter weather starts only with St. Nicholas Day, the 6th of December. And that during all this period before the first Mykolai and the second Mykolai, there is always a possibility that there would be real frost, very cold. So it means from the 6th of December to the 9th of May. Also, when we look at this frost orientation, we see that people literally say that Mykola, yes, is responsible for the frost, and that Mykola is also responsible for these groundwaters in a way, which means that that's why he is the patron for fishermen, that's why he's the patron for sailors, for everyone who is traveling, and also he is, as we've said before, that he is connected to this wolves and horses. There is also an understanding that maybe there used to be this special wolf holiday there, and he kind of perhaps also brings it to this beliefs. But it's very difficult to prove, of course. It's just the hypothesis, and we will never know. It's just the way how we can try to see these beliefs in the way how people feel about that saint now, because he is like the most famous saint, the saint that always helps you. He usually, I even myself, when I was in 2019, I was in one expedition in Chernihiv Oblast, and I remember that I had to interview a lady who literally started explaining me that her father saw Saint Nicholas once because he got lost, and then it was winter, and then he saw a man with a long white beard. Beard. It's a very, very common thing a common way how people describe Saint Nicholas when he appears here in the land, and that he showed the way to his father. Otherwise, he could have been, for example, frozen to death. So this is something that it still exists. People still believe in it, and people still praise to Saint Nicholas when they are on the way. And this is very, very interesting to watch, and to see how this local tradition of of feeling that Saint Nicholas is your protector, how it also combines with this tradition from this Western Europe that came through with the idea that he can give you presents. So it originated from the cult of Saint Nicholas from Myra. That's why we call him Mykolai Myrlikiyski. He was a real bishop, perhaps. Okay, the most common idea, the most common belief is that Saint Nicholas was a real person, a real bishop from the 4th century, and he was known for his kind of secret generosity. There is a very famous legend that he saved three sisters from prostitution by providing gold for their dowries and dropping this gold, this gold into either into the chimney, down the chimney, or through the window. And that's why there are different. So depending on this version, which version of the legend you have, some countries would still have this tradition with the sockings. Other traditions have they believe that you need to put your presents to find them on the by the window. So that's how it originated. There was also another legend that about that was very very popular in the Middle Ages. It's actually really cruel and very creepy. That one man, butcher, he killed three boys and he covered their bodies. Okay, not covered, but he tried to cover their bodies, yes, in the barrel. And that's why later on there is, and St. Nicholas got to know about it and he resurrected these boys. So there are two very popular legends where he works as this miracle worker and as this very generous man who secretly helps people. And that's how these legends basically created the myth about Saint Nicholas who comes to help and who helps the children. So later on, it evolved into tradition like Dutch Sinterklaas, and this Sinterklaas evolved later into the modern Santa Claus. Another thing that I wanted to add, because we also have it in Ukraine, there was a tradition to make beer, to brew beer for St. Nicholas Day. And somehow it is believed that it is also connected to that legend about three boys being killed and then resurrected because of the barrel. So every profession, yeah, that was somehow connected to the barrel and to the meat later turned St. Nicholas into their patron saint. That's why you have butchers that pray Saint Nicholas. You have people who work with wine, who brew beer, who work with wheat, and so on. So this all connected to that legend, and we also believe if we start covering this pre-Christian beliefs that maybe it is connected also to this. Even because we see it in Kolatkas, in our carols, that Saint Nicholas is often showed, okay, not often, but sometimes it is shown as the saint that would come to your field, who would start pluging, yeah, if I remember this word in English. And so he would help you basically with your field, with your bread to grow. So he has this very interesting connection to the wheat itself and barn. Okay, and if we talk about Ukrainian Christian cult, local cult of Saint Nicholas, we have to remember that it was one of the first saints, Christian saints, that it appeared to be very popular in Kievan Rus. We know that it's as early as 11th century. It was already a cult there because there were several churches. The first church of St. Nicholas appeared to be in around 882. So there were, and also because there was a very specific legend of the miracle about this baby in Kiev. So the local Kievan version was telling us a story that there were parents who were on a boat. They were coming back from Vyshgorod, and the mother was very very tired, exhausted, and she basically dropped the baby. The baby kind of slided into the water and drowned. So parents started to cry for help, and they started praying to Saint Nicholas to return the baby back. And next morning, which was on the 9th of May, the Saint Nicholas Day, but in spring, in 1091, there was kind of people found this boy all wet under this particular icon. This icon, after of Saint Nicholas, started to be called Mykola Mokry, Nicholas the Wet, Mykola the Wet, and it started to become the first kind of like miraculous, icon, and people in Kievan Rus, and also as the icon of Saint Nicholas. And we know that it was taken out of Ukraine during the World War II in 1943. And there are rumors, not rumors, but okay, that kind of now it should be in Brooklyn in New York, but it is kept, it is still kind of discussable. And I couldn't really find this, like normal information, like not like rumors, but normal information if it is still there, because I even heard that after the war, after we win, that we will try to bring it back to St. Sophia's Cathedral, because this is that was the one of the biggest icons for back then, and it was taken away. So what is interesting here, that this is the example of a very early Kievan version where Mykolai works as a protector on the water. That what usually you would see in different legends, but also he saves children. And these children are local, not like somewhere from these stories like that. Of course, were also very popular in Ukraine, but they were originated in Greece or in Byzantine world. Yeah. Okay, and then what we see here is that Saint Nicholas later. So he there was this cult of the Christian cult of Saint Nicholas, but still it was not a very there was no such thing as bringing presents for kids for his day, on his day. Only was this maybe some gingerbreads or something like this. But because also one of the reasons why people did it, it's also because of the caroling, because people used to start caroling in Kiev for Saint Barbara's Day, Varvara, or for Saint Nicholas Day. So basically, the reason why children could receive this kind of presents was also because of the caroling, but not because it was just the thing, as we all know right now. So how Mykolai became a gift giver in Ukraine? So firstly, obviously, the tradition came through Slavic Catholics and German colonists, where this tradition has been established for centuries before. Along with this concept of Christmas tree and Christmas itself, and there's a celebration that we all know right now. Then it developed locally in western regions of Ukraine, because that was the part of Austro-Hungarian Empire and Poland, later, but not we can't say, but not that part of Ukraine that was under Russian Empire, because they have other options with gift givers. And then it reached its current format in late, closer even to the 90s, early 90s, when Ukraine returned its independence, regained its independence, and when this tradition started to be kind of very vivid for everyone, and it started to spread thanks to mass media, and also that people didn't have to hide it anymore, because during the Soviet time it was it wasn't public, it was very private for those families who already got to know about St. Nicholas as a gift giver. So it means about Western, we talk about only about Western regions. If we talk about Did Moroz, that grandfather Frost, then he appeared the same way as St. Nicholas actually appeared for us as a gift giver. Because so the problem was this Christmas tree, and the question who would bring presents. So in 1840. Vladimir Radoyevsky created the image of Moroz Ivanovich. It was folk. It was a the very interesting job that writers would basically do during the 19th century, the middle of 19th century, because they were trying to figure out who this character would be, how he or she would look like. So, and then the most popular one would win. So the most popular would became got the name of Did Moroz. So the events in this particular fairy tale took place in spring, not in winter. Did Moroz, Moroz Ivanovich back then, lived in a well because he needed the place where that was cold. He does not yet come to the children, but children came to him. He passively sits in the bottom of the well in this ice house, and then the first girl would accidentally fall there, and she would help him out, and then later on he would bring her gifts, but they are not just gifts as we know right now. They basically the payment for service, like in every typical fairy tale, yeah, traditional fairy tale. So it's not like the case as gift giver right now, just it's the gift giving in the way how it works in these fairy tales. And Dostoevsky's fairy tale became a part of this Christmas tree mythology in closer to 1860s. And then the other writers began to turn the image of this winter gift giver in the way that we know right now. Yeah, about so let's say Nikolai Nekrasov in 1863 created this Moroz Krasny Nos that became very popular as well. And then later on, the image of Snegurочка that Did Moroz is later on. She became his partner, but she never was his partner when we talk about the 19th century and early 20th century. So when we talk about the role of this grandfather Frost, then it basically it was the way to answer to the children in Russian Empire who who would bring this tree. And at first he brought a Christmas tree. Later on, he was only needed to hang out these gifts towards the end of the concert. Yeah, so that's how the usual Christmas and then New Year's concerts for children would look like. Yeah, that you have to call him out 3 times and then he appears, and you would read some poems or you would dance for him and he would give you presents. Inviting him to the holiday strongly correlates with this invitation of ancestors, and that's why actually that's the name grandfather, which is about the souls that usually come for Christmas. Yeah, this is the belief that is very strong even now in Ukraine, that the deceased souls, the souls of the deceased would appear, that the border between this and that word is very thin, and that's how the idea was this deed appeared. Yeah, deed means grandfather. So something which you can relate. Yeah. And then if we talk about someone you can relate, and then when we talk about this idea of the frost, then we see that, yeah, usually calling the frost, this is the Hukanya Moroza. Again, this is the tradition that is still present in Ukraine, for example, and it used to be known in all Slavic words and Slavic nations. And the idea was that this is something that you would do it during the Christmas night. You would ask the frost to come, but it should never come. Yeah, so it's about this etiquette, a very interesting folk etiquette, yeah, vernacular. When you have to ask the things you wouldn't want to see to come to to eat with you for Christmas, but of course they would. The idea is that they shouldn't come. Yeah, they shouldn't come because they didn't come on time when they were asked for. And this idea of calling the frost, it changed the tectonic idea. Yeah, it changed into the idea that because of this very peculiar work of the writers, it changed into this children's um, um, it, uh, into understanding that it's about this very interesting winter weather when children would go sledging, yeah, when they would play this winter game. So instead of thinking about this tonic idea of the frost that is that can bite you, yeah, and can kill you and can kill the harvest. It's shifted gradually into the idea that it's about this winter weather and having fun because of this literacy work. So that's the figure of Grandfather Frost became domesticated, and it came to the 20th century this way. So then, when we talk about the beginning of the 20th century, so we already knew about basically Ukraine already knew two gift givers, and then the USSR came, yeah, and occupied firstly this part of Ukraine that was under Russian Empire, used to be under Russian Empire, yeah, and tried to become independent and was independent for quite some time. And then during the Second World War, before the Second World War, during the Second World War, it got this part that was under the empires. So what the USSR did, the government basically shifted. They had to shift this tradition from Christmas to New Year's. At the beginning, they tried to ban it, and we had few just few examples of this anti-religious illustrations. So what they did, they tried to make this like here comes Комсомольское Різдво, yeah, so Рождество. So they tried firstly to make this red Christmas, kind of anti-Christmas. They tried to even write the red carols about. So instead of saying that the star when the star was born, yeah, the rising, they tried to shift it into this red star of communism, Bolsheviks, but it didn't work out. Didn't work out. So if we talk about this early 20s, 1920s, they tried to figure out how to deal with Christmas and maybe to kind of rewrite it totally into this red Christmas story. It didn't help. So then they canceled it completely. But people were already so accustomed to this idea of celebrating Christmas and with these gift givers and with Christmas trees that again they didn't really ban it the way how they wanted to. The people still had Christmas, but under, let's say, they were hiding these Christmas trees in their wardrobes, or they were trying to buy very small trees, or not to buy, but to cut themselves, yeah, somehow in the forest. So it was very, very complicated, but still what we see when we look at at that period of time, that people still had it somehow. They still managed to have it even in late 20s or early 30s. And so they tried to have this strict ban from late 20s till 1935. And then in 1935, what they done, they after the strict ban and understanding that it didn't work, as we usually say, if you can't cancel it, then you have to not only join it, but you have to kind of organize everything. Yeah. So what they did, they start basically rebranding the whole thing. So Postashev, Pavlo Postashev, who is actually responsible for organizing Holodomor, Great Famine in Ukraine, in just 3 years earlier, in 1935. So he wrote, obviously, okay, we don't have this exact proof that Stalin gave him this order to write this article, but obviously they should have talked through or something. So because even the phrasing that he was using in this article, it's not the phrasing that you would see from the person who who did it himself, even from his position. So the article was called "Let's Organize the Great Yolka," like Christmas, not Christmas, New Year's tree, yeah, in that way, for kids before New Year's. Look at the data. Date. It's 28th of December, so just 3 days before the 31st of December, the New Year's. And what they did, one of the explanations why they did it so late is because they wanted to see how it worked out for people. Did they have this time, and did they want to join? And actually they did. Even 3 days were enough for people to put up the Christmas, not Christmas, now it was New Year's tree. So why Christmas didn't work out? Because it couldn't work out. Because Christmas, it's a very you see that it's a very religious holiday. It is tied completely, rooted into this religious atmosphere. And for the USSR, of course, it was impossible to have this kind of holidays because the atheism was the thing. Yeah. So, and also because they wanted to, actually, the idea what they did here with New Year's and all this rebranding was that they can influence on kids. Because kids, actually, that's what Russia is doing right now when they take our kids, when they kidnap our Ukrainian kids, and they start rewriting everything for them. Yes, reshaping their identities. That's exactly the same thing that was done 90 years ago, because they understood. After, one more time, you have to remember about Holodomor, which means that up to 4 million people were killed, died in Ukraine. You have to remember about 1937. This is the first Christmas tree, okay, New Year's tree, that was organized in Moscow. It was already the first one when you had the appearance of Ded Moroz and Snegurочка, this pair, the traditional pair for if we talk about Soviet time. 1937, this is the time when thousands of people were either in gulags or they were killed, because it was a great terror. It was this time of I don't know, the most unbearable terror that the Soviets organized. That was in these years. And what you have here, you have kids whose parents either they were dead or they were somehow, I don't know, somewhere in gulags or wherever, and they were taken into these winter festivals, showing these trees and saying that that's how we will take care of you. Yeah, the country will take care of you. And so they were brainwashing and using this propaganda and everything. You can see the pictures from this 1930s with the first trees, and there were slogans right in there where that you have to say thank you to Lenin and to Stalin, for your bright future. And this is everything was already used back then, and that's how they reshaped the whole idea, because they wanted to create the holiday that would be for kids specifically, and the holidays that would be not only for kids but also for Soviet kids, exactly for Soviet kids, because you have kids from Kazakhstan who were Muslims originally. You have people from, I don't know, Buryatia who were obviously, they were the Burats have I forgot Buddhism. You have people from let's say Mordovia and other, so they have this local religious there, religions, shamanism and so on, and all these identities had to be erased, and that's how you start. You would start not with this older generations. You would start with younger generations. You would erase there because they don't need to be erased. They don't have it yet. And you start working out with New Year's and so on. So that's why, given all this example, taking into account all of these things that I mentioned, you have to remember that is why one of the explanations why right now Ukrainians don't really feel, most of Ukrainians don't really feel that they need Ded Moroz, because Ded Moroz, even though it was originated in the 19th century and also in Ukrainian territories as well, but it is so deeply connected to that idea of Soviet propaganda that you just don't want to have it anymore. And Russians continue using Ded Moroz, as Grandfather Frost, as their tool, in propaganda. But I wanted also to show you here a few examples when children and winter gifts and propaganda was used during the Second World War. So in this, because we have to remember that when we talk about the theme of war and childhood, it was used extremely productively. And Saint Nicholas was also used by Nazis, and Grandfather Frost was used by the Soviets. So when we talk about that, this is the example, for example, the example of Ded Moroz, you see, in Vostochny Front, so East front, and the Grandfather Frost is on a motorcycle bringing the tree to the soldiers. Yeah, here you have the example with Soviet troops. Okay, what's interesting here? So Soviet troops. Let's say let's look at Lviv here because it's very interesting. So Lviv was basically the heart of Saint Nicholas gift giving thing. You see it in 20 all over newspapers that. They already had this cult of Saint Nicholas being a gift giver in 1920s, in 1930s. And what you have here, you had Soviet troops entered Lviv in September 1939. They remained there until June 1941. And then the Nazis came, the Germans. Soviet power returned later on in 1944 and occupied the territory until 1991. So during the first occupation from 1939 till 1941, Mykolai was banned, and Christmas trees were they could have been put only as New Year's trees, and instead of Mykolai, you had Grandfather Frost, Ded Moroz, who became a mouthpiece for propaganda already developed back then, yes, in other territories of the USSR. In 1941, Germans not only did return Mykolai, but also they used his image in their own propaganda to counterattack Grandfather Frost from Siberia, as they called him. So you can see it very well, again, when you read these local newspapers from this period of time when Lviv was under Nazis occupation. You see that both characters worked for propaganda, but in a slightly different way. So Mykolai, because he was returned, Germans wanted to show that, you see, we respect your beliefs, we respect your traditions. Your traditions are the same as ours, not like this Grandfather Frost that is from Siberia. And also they showed this in this kind of articles. You can see sometimes they retell the concerts, the script of the concert, and you see that St. Nicholas said that I want to help those children whose parents are now in Siberia, for example, just like Grandfather Frost, who took them from us. So they use this kind of metaphor to explain it to kids. And then, of course, I believe if you're interested in this topic, you could see Grandfather Frost as General General Frost, that was shown in 1943, 44 especially, as the soldier that brings weapon to Soviet soldiers, who stands with them, who fights with them against the Nazis. So, and again, this image of General Moroz, it's appeared now in the Russian propaganda very well. You can see it. Okay, and then coming. Mykolai kept coming. Let's see what's going on. So in some places, the tradition was revived, and at the family level immediately after the war ended in 1940s. And I have a friend of mine whose grandfather painted draw these paintings, and he describes here his way how he believed Saint Nicholas and Ruprecht looked like. So this is the Lviv version in 1940s. Yeah, he believed that Ruprecht was was the winds, but with this ugly rucksack, yeah, backpack that is very dirty, and of course with this tail as the devil had it, and was instead of a branch or the twigs, yeah, he had this. Uh, I don't remember how it is in English. I'm sorry, but you can see it. So in the late 80s, the press began to mention the tradition of gift giving on the 19th of December back then, because we switched into to a different calendar. Now it's new, just Novojuliansky, new Julian calendar. But it used to be Julian calendar. And if you talk about Julian calendar, it's the 19th of December, and now it's the 6th of December. Now what you have here is that the most of the population of Ukraine, they only became acquainted with this tradition in the 90s. I actually have a friend of mine who got to know about the tradition of gift giving on St. Nicholas Day when she was on the first year of studying at the university, because she was from the northern part of Ukraine, from Chernihiv Oblast, and she never heard of St. Nicholas. She only had Did Moroz, and it was in 2004 when she first heard of St. Nicholas, which can be very surprising to hear if you're, for example, from Lviv, where you used to have St. Nicholas for ages already, you know. So you have to keep in mind that these stories, so personal stories, yeah, in every family would be different because we have different backgrounds. Yeah. So in my case, for example, I was born in 1989, and actually, so my father, who is from Poltava region, never heard of St. Nicholas Day, but when he started, it was in early 90s, and he heard about this tradition from someone else's at work, from his colleague, and he decided that he would like to bring it for his kids. And I remember that my first St. Nicholas came to me when I was around 4 years old. And again, the major present was from Did Moroz, not I'm from Kyiv. Just the disclaimer from Did Moroz, not from St. Nicholas. But for my Lviv friends, the main and the only big present was for St. Nicholas all the time. Yeah. So this is very interesting to understand that we have different gift givers and we have different value for presents from different, and we have different placements because St. Nicholas brings presents usually under the pillow, but not only. For example, if you're from Transcarpathian region, you could find presents in the window, by the window. Or even I know that in some areas of Rivnenska Oblast, they would sometimes try to find presents still in the shoes, the same way as Germans do it. What you have here, just old postcard where I wanted to point out that traditionally Saint Nicholas was with someone else. He wasn't alone. Because right now what you see in Ukrainian culture is that you have Saint Nicholas alone, coming alone. But if you even play back and look at these traditional scripts from let's say 1910, 1920s, you see that he would usually come either with an angel and a devil, or with chort, yeah, or with two devils, or with one devil. So it depended. Sometimes you could hear that, as I showed you that pictures, of my friend's grandfather Ivan was Ruprecht. But Ruprecht again used to have some features of this demonic features. Yeah. So why I mention this? Because when you start digging into the topic of Saint Nicholas in Europe, you see that he always has a companion with him, and this companion usually is usually described as some demonic, local demonic folklore character, obviously, and usually has local names. For example, like in this case, it's Krampus. Yeah, here you can see Krampus is very popular right now because of these festivals and again in mass media and so on. And here you have Peltsnikel, that is started to this is from the office, the serial office, and Dwight Schrute was because he had this German ancestors. He that was played very well in this comedy, because he tried to show the real Christmas for his American colleagues, and always being kind of naughty to them, and showed the way how this tradition evolved. So what is interesting this with Belsnickel, Schmutzli, Krampus, Pete, and so on, all these Befana even, Perchta, when you start checking this local characters from Switzerland, from Italy, from, let's say, different parts of Germany, Alsace, I don't know, France, whatever, you see that usually Saint Nicholas, that is an official saint, I mean Christianity, the symbol of Christianity. It always brings this local character from Christmas time that obviously had some pagan Christian tradition roots. But with Ukrainian Saint Nicholas, it looks to me that he just didn't have time to kind of, to can't say to for this second companion to evolve into this local version of itself, because we used to have this angel and Krampus, or I don't know, devil, or the Chor, just the name was Chor, or sometimes it was Ruprecht, but it was not their local Ukrainian Chor, it was this. It was not still. We were not there yet. And then the Soviet regime came, occupied the whole territory, and it cut the tradition completely. And the tradition was left only as its private tradition when you put something under the pillow for your kids. But you can't say that it was Saint Nicholas and someone else. So this someone else disappeared. And why I'm telling you this? Because I believe that maybe there is an opportunity for us to kind of maybe to rebrand it a little bit, and we'll see. Or maybe he will be alone. Just in a few years we will see it. Another thing that I would like to bring to you is that the 6th of December is the day of Ukrainian forces, of our army. And before, you didn't really, you still had this connection with St. Nicholas being a part of the Ukrainian army. But only when the calendar, there was this shift in the calendars, it started to be so obvious for everyone, and now, so starting from that time, it was a few years ago when we shifted to this new Julian calendar, you could see very well that the 6th of December is not only about St. Nicholas anymore, of course. It's also the day when we commemorate the dead, the people who are on the front line, the people who protect us. When we talk about the role of the army in Ukraine, and when we, but basically it's the day when you have to say thank you, to the soldiers. And in the time of war, of course, this is one of the most, the biggest days for us. So what I wanted to show you here is the example of the last year's it wasn't celebration. It was one of the brigades that made a very interesting video to congratulate with St. Nicholas Day. And here you have, you should have, I believe you will hear it. So.
Кожного року по всій території України до чемних хлопчиків та дівчаток з повним мішком подарунків приходить Святий Миколай. за добрі вчинки протягом року і даруй маленьким і дорослим любов, радість, тепло та мир.
So what he says basically is that if you behaved well, yes, then every year you would have Saint Nicholas coming to you with very good presents. But for those who were naughty, and he says that while, as you see, loading the, I don't know, some kind of missiles.
Тільки загарбникам Миколай День Збройних сил України принесе особливі подарунки, а птахи армійської авіації йому в цьому допоможуть.
Yeah, the 12th Brigade of Viktor Pavlenko. So what you see here is obviously, okay, I would use the word propaganda here, but in a good way, yeah? So what you see here is that, oh, okay, I have to charge one second, because we will be, yeah. Should be okay. Yeah, should be okay now. You can see that St. Nicholas Mykolai is working, yeah, not only side by side with our army, but he is our army, yeah. So he is our protector, literally. And what he does, so he says here that, yeah, if you were naughty, just like the Russians were, yeah, you would receive very specific gifts. Say, he said that, enter in the cockpit. So it's just something that you also have to keep in mind about the new role of St. Nicholas, yeah, for Ukrainian society right now. And also I wanted to show you that before the switch that we used to have, before this calendar switch, we used to have basically a very interesting situation where you had Saint Nicholas for Catholics, yeah, because Catholics celebrated Saint Nicholas Day on the 6th of December. Then you have Saint Nicholas on the 19th of December. Then you had Christmas for Catholics that was on the 25th of December. Then you had the 31st of December, where either Santa would come or they became or did Moroz. The 1st of January, and then the 7th of January you had finally again the second version of Christ's birthday, Christmas. So that was very complicated to explain. Now it's much easier. Now you basically the days are the same as we all have mostly, yeah, but they are still we have to understand that still the older generation is very most of them still kind of, you know, they are in transferring, they are not there yet. So when I ask my friends, for example, who have religious grandparents, they usually say that no, we still have the 6th of and the 7th of January as their major holiday for Christmas. And so it will take some time, yeah, for those who are maybe older, yeah, maybe not for everyone, of course, but you still can hear it that not everyone is okay with this shift, but it's just a matter of time. So also, just we are approaching the end. So I really have to tell you that what we see here is that it's not only about St. Nicholas right now and Grandfather Frost that is being cancelled by the majority of people, but not for everyone. So we have to remember about goat walking. Goat walking is a tradition that is still alive, and it's actually we're facing its revival right now. And the ritual with the goat, which symbolizes fertility, that was supposed to bring a good harvest, and it's about this very deep connection with the ancestors and with and the goat itself. Also, basically, it's the mystery. The whole mystery is about the resurrection of this goat. Yeah. So if we look at the, here you can read it. So there is a very specific song that is usually sang, and the mystery is held with this masquerade. Yes, with the people are covered with masks, and they have the special spells basically. And of course, we can say about this totemic ancestor as well. If we dig very deeply into this tradition. And basically, we have this symbolic sacrificial killing, because at the end of the song, it says that here's the god fell, it became lifeless, that тут коза впала, нежива стала, and then it resurrects. So their performance of this song was accompanied by a very corresponding pantomime, and they are very peculiar attributes of this mystery. And the goat, for example, the goat usually wears inside out, like sheepskin coat, kožuch, and usually it has this, the mask can be done with this papier-mâché technique, or it can be done with this movable jaw and horns from the wood, the wooden one as it's here. And there's still there's a folk tradition that still preserves this technique of making even the wooden masks. And so this resurrection of this animal, of the goat, is very. It was very common from the whole play was very common either on the Christmas tide or till New Year's. So. And sometimes you could hear that people would start doing this ritual from St. Nicholas Day up till the Epiphany. But it depended. But they always said that the major one is, for example, on Щедрий вечір, yes, on Christmas, or on Christmas, or on either on Christmas or on New Year's Day. So usually, right now, we could feel that it's more about Christmas. Because we have Malanka for the first, another creature, another character for the 31st of December. So if we talk about the tradition of this goat walking, it was very, very common even for Scandinavian countries, not only for Ukraine or Romania or Moldova or Belarus, for example. Yes, it was the goat is a very European tradition. The goat walking, here is the example of the goat walking, for example, from Sweden. Yeah, in Norway they used to have the goat walking even in 1990s. And the word, just for you, if you don't know, that the Finnish Santa Claus, Joulupukki, is actually translated as goat. Yeah, Jule goat. So, and again, it brings presents. And originally, now it brings presents to you in completely dressed as Santa Claus, but just 3 decades ago, he would be also a goat, and the goat would bring presents to you. So, what I face here and what I believe is that very, very soon we may see that these creatures, these characters, the local traditional Ukrainian characters for Christmas tide, Koza and Malanka, perhaps Malanka can be also imagined in this way. They may become the next gift givers. If Malanka is a very peculiar, very specific creature, because this character is about this anti-social behavior, anti-behavior. Then Kazakh, the goat, is actually I can imagine that this particular character can bring, because it's already about harvest, it's about joy, it's already about everything good for you that would be in the future year. Then if it starts bringing not only after this ritual, if it starts bringing presents, it's something that is very logical to imagine right now. And why I'm saying so, that I've already this is something that you can easily buy right now this year. This is something that starts to be present almost everywhere in every second shop. supermarket, and this is from Aurora, for example. It's very affordable, and we used to have memes about dwarfs from Yusk. It was 2 years ago. There is everyone would bring this local elves, or trolls from this supermarket that is from that is originally from Denmark. But this year, everyone starts bringing goats. So I believe that just we have a year or two to work out how to write it down in this, children's stories, in these children's concerts, because I actually already see it. A lot of Kievan local theaters have already started playing with this character. So I believe that maybe instead of, because obviously Did Moroz will be cancelled, and St. Nicholas is on the 6th of December right now. So it's quite far from Christmas tide, from this Christmas time. And a lot of families, they already have this tradition to have 2 presents or even 3 presents during this period of time, winter holidays. So I believe that for some of the families, for my family, it would be for my family, it's the key. So we would cancel Did Moroz, but we will have Koza. And I actually already have some families, some friends of mine who have started this tradition way earlier than other Ukrainians. So just at the end of my a little bit longer than I expected. Conversation. I wanted just to show you that just if you read in Ukrainian, you can think about maybe ebook that under the pillow or under the tree. The book that I wrote 2 years ago. It's all about the tradition of Christmas tree in Ukraine, about St. Nicholas, about his role in traditional Ukrainian culture, about Did Moroz as well, and about the way how everything has been changing during the last years. And just wanted to say thank you for your attention. And if you read or if you know Ukrainian, that I just wanted to tell you that maybe you can read me some of my something that I'm writing on my Telegram channel. And also we have me and my friend Anya Nikolaeva, who is an ethnologist. We started this a channel called Porobleno, Jinxed, I think it's in English. Basically, our idea is to show different, to give a platform, a floor to different Ukrainian scholars, anthropologists firstly, and folklorists to talk about their fields of studying in a very, I would say, down to earth manner, because way, because this is something that we feel that there is a lack of, because we have already some platforms for historians, but we don't have enough for folklorists and anthropologists and ethnologists. So this is maybe you can use auto-generated, for example, subtitles to look in our episodes, because, for example, the latest episode is about the traditional Ukrainian Christmas decorations, which is also very, very interesting to hear about. So thank you.
Thank you, Daria. So, unfortunately, we have not so much time left for questions, but we will try to read some questions that have been submitted. So, we have Ilya Pkatelo, who is our communications assistant at Kule Folklore Center. So, Ilya, for maybe a couple of questions from the audience.
For sure. Just for myself, I just wanted to say thank you to you, Daria, for spending this time with us, especially in the time of power outage, when you're spending precious electricity. Yes, and going to questions, our first question is, I guess it's related to your first part of your presentation. You said that trees, Christmas trees, it came from German tradition. And our attendee, they were surprised that you didn't mention Halachina and Bukovina as places with early Christmas trees. Was it later there, this tradition?
No, I mentioned that it was because of the German colonists. So it means that if we talk about German colonists at 80, we don't really have this is the problem. We don't really have this, the writing, how it's called, the issue. Yeah, we don't have the proof that it was, let's say, in 1789 or something like this, when the first German settlers came to Galician and Bukovina. But we believe that, yes, obviously, it was around that time. It was, but not earlier than that time. It was around like late, very, very late 18th century or very, very early 19th century. But it was only in these communities, when we talk about the colonists, the German colonists, they still had some years, to spread this tradition to Ukrainians. And what we know is that in Odessa, it's very well recorded. It was from 1811. It was a very interesting, because it was made for favoritka Narishkina, for Sofia Narishkina, who was 6 years old, and it was believed that she was Alexander's the Emperor Alexander's daughter, but not the official one, But we also know that, for example, with Odessa, it's very well written. Like, we know, for example, how they celebrated New Year's in early 1800s, what they ate, how they prepared everything. And it was something that really, like, you really can see that the German colonists and French colonists there, they really worked it through. But unfortunately, I just think that this is the topic that you just have to dig deeper. And it was a topic for dissertations, to read very carefully these private letters from these German colonists in early 19th century, and try to find the proof. It's just that we don't have the proof yet. Here we have the data. It doesn't mean that it is that way. I mean, that maybe we will find something in a few years while reading very carefully, because we just don't have it right now yet. It doesn't mean that it doesn't exist.
Thank you. Our next question is, it's a bit long. I will try to summarize it. But basically, what the question is right now with American consumerism, like, it influences other cultures and promotes its own traditions, like Halloween and stuff like that. Do you think it will also influence culture in Ukraine and Christmas traditions, and, for example, will remove like Did Moroz even more, or is it right now not as relevant as before?
I just know that some families try to switch to Santa Claus, but it doesn't feel really right, because everyone understands that it's almost the same as St. Nicholas, and everyone understands that it's too American for us. So I can see that some people right now are replacing, this local figure, of Did Moroz by using Santa Claus, but I can see that it doesn't really work very well, and it is not spreading well enough. But it is true that there is a I can see it from Kyiv, from Kharkiv, from Odessa, for example, from these parts of Ukraine that used to have Did Moroz, that a lot of people want to find another character, but they are searching right now. So right now, we are in the middle of trying to figure out what exactly to do, but I believe that because of the war, because of this very big interest to what we are, who we are, what our symbols are, I believe that it would be something local, and that's why I believe that it would be a goat, because it's started to be promoted very well, and you can see that it's very popular. It's very common right now to have this, different workshops to learn how to have this, how to make this goat walking, to buy the special goat masks. You can even buy very, very simple masks from local shops. So I really think that it's something that it just in 2 or 3 years we will see it. that it's already here, and people really want to have the local version. I really feel that they're like hungry, because they didn't have for a very long time, they didn't have this opportunity even to get to know their traditions, how actually your grandparents, your great grandparents used to celebrate Christmas. That's why I can say it from my perspective. Because during this few till the 22nd of December, every day I have a lecture for Ukrainians about Ukrainian Christmas. Every single day, sometimes 2 lectures a day, because people really want to know how it was, and people didn't have it during the Soviet time, didn't really have it before the war started in 2014. So that's something that is I think another topic to discuss.
Right, thank you. Okay, maybe 2 more short questions. The first one sounds like this. As a child of the political immigration, St. Nicholas brought gifts, but we always got a branch, prutik, from Chortek. This tradition with Chortek continued in Canada.
Yeah, because again, as I understood that it was maybe in 2030, in like 100 years ago, maybe when they used to have it. And I also heard it that in Halachina it was very common also to bring a small branch, a twig, I don't know, branch to a kid with the present. Sometimes they also used to do it, but it's also German tradition and Austrian tradition. It's like to remember, that you still can be punished for if you have some bad, if you do some naughty things. But we don't have it anymore at all. You don't have it, and it's really interesting because some people even start kind of trying also to figure out about this part of the tradition, because they started to get to know more about St. Nicholas and the way how it used to be represented. And again, because he used to have this chortik with him, he doesn't have it now. So I feel that it is kind of, this character is being neglected in a way, and we have to maybe can think also, maybe in few years we will see the revival as well of this second, chthonic version, demonic version of the character that would have this prutik with them. I don't know.
I think the next question is also connected to this demonic figure. Do you see any analogy between the Central European Krampus and Sviatyi Mykolai's impish acolyte Antsybor?
That's the thing that I believe that we use. I have a theory that maybe the goat would have been that someone, or this local version of the Chortik, either Antsybor, Chortik, I don't know, someone, the local version that we would have in different, because every region has a little different understanding of this local character. And so to me, it looks like maybe if we would have had, let's say, 2 or 3 more decades, we already could have seen this localized version of the second character, that the companion. But because of the Soviet Union, because everything was banned, it didn't evolve. So never evolved. Yes. So what I'm thinking now, that maybe in few years, because of this very interesting role of the goat right now, and even I've already seen some children's plays here in Kiev where the goat and St. Nicholas are together. So what I'm thinking is that maybe in a way, for this alternative version, maybe the goat would become this companion for St. Nicholas. We'll see it. It's really interesting right now, because we are in the middle of we're at the crossroad, and everything can happen.
Thank you so much. All right, I think we have just a little bit more time, and I just wanted to answer a question that is, I think, more for us, for Kule Folklore Center, and people are asking if a presentation about Malanka traditions can be planned in the future. And I can just answer that on our YouTube channel, we already have a couple of recordings and also one small documentary about Malanka. So if you would like, you can visit our YouTube channel. And also I saw a question if you, Daria, could share with us that video with St. Nicholas and the army.
Okay,
yes.
Sure.
And I also can share. Sorry.
Yeah.
I can also share the podcast that Daria is doing as well.
I really believe that if we go further, Malanka can become this this character for the 31st of December, you know, and it needs to be done properly. But actually, as if we are talking about this character that was the same way as Dit Moroz or Saint Nicholas for us were created, yeah, they were planned as these children's characters, yeah, for gift giving. I actually think that Malaka can work out. Not every folklorist agree with me here in Ukraine. For example, Natalia Gromova, who is a very well-known ethnologist, and she works with particularly on topics of winter traditions. I can see that she resists even the idea of the goat being a gift giver. But I believe that we need to be more flexible right now, and it's absolutely okay. I mean, we are not in this traditional, era anymore, and kids should have fun. We always have, that was something that I wanted to point out at the end of the book as well. That it's all about kids. It's first of all, it's all about kids, and if we can make it with Malanka being naughty and then changing her behavior somehow and giving presents for those who were naughty, but then, for example, started to rethink about, think through their own way to behave. I think it's okay. I think it's something that it's possible as well.
Okay, thank you, Daria. Thank you for really detailed and really interesting presentation. And I think that our audience has been right now really informed about how the tradition has been changed and has also evolved through different times. And before we wrap up, so some announcements about our future events. That tomorrow we will have our Ukrainian Christmas carol sing-along event, which will be happening here in Edmonton at Strathcona Community League Hall. So if you are around, please register. We still have some available spots. And just follow us. We have our event page on our website, and also sign up for our newsletter to stay connected with us. And next month in January, we will post the list of our events for the next 3 months. And thank you for being with us today.